So in today's society, electric vehicles may seem to be the alternative, but they are actually harming the environment than saving it. Electrical cars may save you money over time and may save the environment, but the process of making them will actually harming the environment. Electrical cars or EV, they are not suitable in today's environment because most of the energy is dependent on the fossil fuel. They damage the environment and they have substantial technical drawbacks. So first, the EVs are dependent on the electricity produced by the fossil fuels. According to EIA, the U.S. Energy Information Administration, 75% of the energy comes from the coal. Only 6% of the energy comes from the renewable resources. And in that 75% of energy, only half of them is raised as heat when producing the energy, and additional 5 to 10% energy is lost during the transmission. And at the end, only 1/3 of the energy will reach to the end users. Another reason that EVs are not suitable in today's environment is large carbon footprint during the production. According to the Low Tech magazines, they explain that how the solar panels are made. So here's the code. First, raw material have to be mined: quartz sand for silicon cells, metal ox for thin film cells. These materials have to be treated following different steps. Finally, these upgraded materials have to be manufactured into solar cells and assembly into modules. All these processes produce air pollution and heavy metal emissions, and they consume energy, which brings about more air pollution, heavy metal emissions, and greenhouse gases. So EV may seem convenient and cheap. They have substantial technical drawbacks. Most EV can only run for 1 to 2 hours before another 6 to 8 hours for charging. According to CNN money, it will cost around $7,000 to produce an electrical vehicle compared to a non-electrical vehicle, which it will only cost $1,200 to develop advanced technology and to produce them. So with electricity produced by fossil fuels, the high production of carbon footprint and greenhouse gases, and the substantial technical drawbacks, the so-called efficient vehicles are not efficient after all. It actually costs more to generate such energy than using the existing energy.
All right, Ken, I think that you identify your subject pretty clearly, but it sounds like as part of the introduction you kind of dismissed your own argument, saying in the long run it may have advantages. So I'm not sure if your argument is just about the short term, over the life of the vehicle. On balance, that needs to be a little bit clearer. And also in that opening section, even though the topic is clear and your general point of view is clear, I think you still need to have a more explicit statement of the proposition, because it's buried in that opening, and I'm listening for it pretty carefully, and I think I picked it out, but I'm not sure everybody would be able to do that. There was a good layout of the secondary point, so that was pretty clear. You had a good preview of what was going on. Because of the description in the opening, there's some understanding about why there's a controversy. I do think that you could provide a little bit more information on that to make it more interesting. Signposting on the individual points was pretty clear, although your transition to the second point needed to be sharper. You started talking about the carbon footprint, and I wasn't sure if you had gone to your second point there or if that was still part of the first point that you were talking about. All of the harmful effects of the pollution are asserted. I don't think there's a lot of dispute that fossil fuels, for instance, are going to be pollutants, but you don't have any comparative data about whether or not we're going to have a continuing amount of fossil fuel utilization or resource utilization that would not be offset by the decreased utilization of gasoline and other forms of energy that electric vehicles would present. And so I think that point needed a lot more development. You had good statistical information to start with on the production of electricity. I think it needs to be a little bit more developed, especially when you're talking about where people are likely to be getting their energy for their vehicles, where electric vehicles are most likely to be used. If you could show that those, in fact, are regions where we're heavily reliant on coal-fired plants, then I think your argument is a little bit stronger. It was a good piece of general data, but again, we need some on-balance data to show that it would be offset. So are we really using the same amount of carbon or polluting energy to make the electricity as you would from running a gas-powered vehicle? We don't have any way of making that comparison, and so you need some data on that point. You got involved in the discussion of the cost issue, and I thought that that was okay, except that you rushed by it a little bit, and some of the cost issues appear to have environmental consequences, which is good. Again, I think they need to be quantified more. There was one point where you're talking about solar panel manufacturing, and I have no idea why that's related to this particular topic, so that made no sense to me. I thought you had a pretty good summary of the argument that you're making, but it needs to, like I said, I think it feels a little thin and could use some extra material to be more convincing. That's that sufficiency test. All right, thank you.